Chapter 61. You're really going to attack the Shao family. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 61. You're really going to attack the Shao family. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. The meeting room fell into a dead silence once again. Lan Weiwei blinked her eyes innocently. She did not understand what was happening at all. Lu Changping's eyes widened. He pointed at Raleigh, who was in Lan Weiwei's arms, and said, "Then. What about this panda?" Lu Chen nodded and said, "That's right. This panda is the same as Weiwei. After signing the contract with this little fellow, he too mysteriously appeared in this world. In addition, I discovered that I can now enter the second world without using the game pod. Going into the second world without it is completely different from entering with the game pod. Plus, I can also summon the weapon I use in .game to the real world and use the skills I have in .game to the real world." As Lu Chen finished speaking, a golden light flashed above his head. The word Sword God appeared for everyone to see. With a flip of his palm, an aqua.blue longsword also appeared in his hand. His entire body was exuding a terrifying aura when it appeared. This gesture made everyone hold their breath in fear. Lu Changping was dumbstruck. He had never thought that Lu Chen would be able to do such a thing. Good, very good. This is amazing progress. He was too stunned to speak of anything else except praises. Lu Chen's strength was equivalent to the strength of the Dragon Country and the strength of the East. No matter what his attitude was as a citizen, it would not change the fact that he is from the Dragon Country. With that in mind, Lu Chen could be seen as a powerful trump card for other countries to worry about. Lu Chen paced around the room with his weapon in hand as he spoke. All kinds of signs indicate that the connection between the second world and our world is greatly merging. I think it won't be long before the two worlds begin to merge into one. I'm sure that the white fog city in the sky and the phenomenon that happened to me can prove this case in point." Lu Changping nodded and said, "Your speculation is correct. In fact, all the countries have been preparing for this very day." Lu Chen looked at Lu Changping and said, "Then, after answering your questions, shouldn't I have some questions of my own? Or should I say, what should you tell me?" Lu Chen needed information to exchange in this situation. Whether it was the second world or the real world, he knew too little about everything that was going on. He felt like he was left in the dark. If Lu Yuan had not told him part of it and him guessing part of it, he would have lived in total darkness. Lu Changping looked at him and sighed. "Well, it's time for you to know some things. Otherwise, it's not fair to you, and it won't be convenient for you in the future as well." Lu Changping pondered for a moment and said slowly, "This world has supernatural powers. Lu Yuan should have told you about it, right?" He glanced at Lu Yuan in the distance and guessed from her expression. Lu Chen nodded and said, "That's right, but I forced her to say it. Don't blame her for sharing the information with me. To be honest, she's quite a responsible team member." Lu Changping said somewhat embarrassedly, "We were just being cautious." Lu Chen said, "I know." Lu Changping heaved a sigh of relief before speaking again. "It's good that you can understand. Then I'll continue with what I said just now. This world has had supernatural powers since ancient times. The martial artist experts in the East, the mages and knights in the West. For example, in Dragon Country, every family has a strong background. This is also the reason why the Dragon Country is monopolized by major families. Because their status in strength is too strong." Lu Chen nodded. He knew all of this. About 5 years ago, a secret realm appeared at the border between the Dragon Country and the Bear Country. At that time, the Gu family took the lead and led many experts from the families to explore the realm. There were more than 100 people in this group. The weakest one was at the heaven grade, and the strongest one was a legendary spiritual realm expert. After saying this, many people felt a chill in their hearts. A spiritual expert. An expert that only existed in legends. Lu Chen was just as shocked as everyone. He had a rough idea of his own strength. Before entering White Fog City, he knew that he could only barely surpass heaven-grade experts. He knew that he could not reach the level of acquired realm experts at all. With just one look, one could tell how terrifying the strength of any expert was. As for strong martial artist fighters in general, it was something that he dared not to think about ever. However, after entering White Fog City, he had obtained a huge improvement. In addition, he even had a series of title upgrades. He was now confident that he could fight against a master. However, he had never seen a master anywhere, so could not yet gauge his abilities and skills. Lu Chanping's voice continued on as Lu Chen pondered. That group of people went for about 3 months, but there was no news. That secret realm also slowly disappeared, and the masters of the big families were cut off just like that. It even triggered inner turmoil in the Dragon Country. Half a year after the secret realm disappeared, the will of the second world slowly descended. They began to communicate with the higher-ups of the world, sending out its will to descend. At the beginning, everyone was terrified. Everyone wondered why such an unknown existence wanted to descend. Could it be a disaster? Without rushing too quickly into it, the higher-ups carefully communicated with it for nearly 4 years. They decided that it didn't seem like an invasion. Instead, it seemed like it was asking for help. Its final message was that it couldn't hold on any longer and that the world had no choice but to only descend. It couldn't control it anymore. It had no choice but to activate the second world's plan. Lu Chen pondered. It sounded like the second world's will had encountered some difficulty. The second world had descended into this world and then asked for help from this world. It descended into this world in the form of a game. It has even helped the humans of this world to modify their bodies. Lu Chen nodded to show that he understood. He looked at Lu Chanping and said, "Are there any images and information left behind from them? I want to take a look." Lu Chanping nodded and then spoke, "Follow me." With that, he walked out. Lu Chen followed directly behind him. They walked all the way to the top floor of the Dragon Building. After passing countless checkpoints, they finally arrived at a secret hidden room. Lu Chanping turned on a device, and an image appeared in front of Lu Chen's eyes. It was an unknown object, like a disorderly ball of thread. Then, it made an irregular sound. Lu Chen could feel some kind of will from that sound. "Save me! Save me!" the voice rang out. This feeling that he felt was similar to him voluntarily descending into the second world. However, at the same time, it was completely different. After a while, Lu Chen and Lu Chanping walked out from inside. At this point, he completely believed Lu Chanping's words. He looked at Lu Chanping and said, "Then, what are your next moves?" Lu Chanping pondered for a moment and then looked at Lu Chen and said, "We have a plan. In doing so, we would need your help." Lu Chen said, "Go on." Lu Chanping said, "You should know that the existence of the aristocratic families has been hindering the development of the Dragon Country, especially the arrogant aristocratic families who rely on their countless expert fighters. They always look down on the entire organization. Therefore, we need you to eliminate some of the aristocratic families. However, the prerequisite is that you must have sufficient strength in order to carry out this mission." Lu Chen's eyes gleamed with desire as he replied, "You mean, you're going to make a move against the Shao family?" Lu Chanping nodded his head heavily. Chapter 62. Revenge, Kill the Shao Family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 62. Revenge, Kill the Shao Family. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Lu Chen knew that the day would come when the Shao family would be destroyed. He had also wanted to be the one to personally end the Shao family. However, he had never thought that this day would come so soon. Moreover, this method was actually proposed by the higher-ups. This was very intriguing. The reason why Lu Chen was a little surprised was that he had no idea how important he was. As a level 1 player, they knew that he currently owned 3 golden titles: Sword God, Blade God, and Bow God. As a newbie who could complete an insanely dangerous mission and capture a giant rabbit that was as big as a hill. As a player who could kill a boss that was a dozen levels higher as easily as drinking water. As a player who could bring a second world character out of this world. Most importantly, he was a person who could kill a god. What kind of protection did the country have to give to such a person? No one dared to imagine what this person could do. If nuclear weapons were the high-end combat strength of mankind in the past 100 years, then no one would doubt that one day, Lu Chen would replace the status of nuclear weapons and become the anchor to protect the dragon country. In the past, the Shao family used their power for personal gain, and the higher-ups had no choice but to turn a blind eye to it. Even if the Shao family forcefully took away Lu Chen's information prepared to cause trouble in this world, the higher-ups of the dragon country still hesitated. They only took away Lin and Xiao Chuan, but did not immediately execute them. They did not want to escalate the conflict. This was both a protection method and a blow to the Shao family's ego. After all, the Shao family was the largest organization and the backer of the White Alliance. They had power over the economic lifeline of the dragon country. Even among the higher-ups, there were quite a few of them. Pulling out this malignant tumor of the Shao family would very likely cause the dragon country to suffer severe injuries. However, the moment Lu Chen became the city lord of White Fog City, the higher-ups of the dragon country finally made a decision. Lu Chen had to be protected. The enemies outside the dragon country should be demolished. The malignant tumor within the dragon country should be removed. Although the dragon country was powerful, its position in the international world was not so great that it could monopolize over certain powers. Lu Chen was the greatest hope for the entire dragon country. When Lu Chongping and Lu Chen said this, the higher-ups had already started to take action. The higher-ups of the Shao family in the dragon country were being strictly monitored, and they were not allowed to enter or leave at will. It was to ensure that they could strike a fatal blow and uproot the entire Shao family to shambles. The one to pull the trigger should be by the well-deserved Lu Chen. Lu Chongping began to explain the specific situation of the Shao family to Lu Chen. Those people from the White Alliance are mostly mobs. There's no need to pay any attention to them. Especially when you killed them time and time again at the resurrection point. Their main bodies are also very weak now. They don't have the ability to fight back and won't dare attack you. Lu Yuan's eyes widened as she looked at Lu Chen, who listened attentively. She could not link this 18-year-old boy in front of her with Morning Mist, who had killed tens of thousands of people from the White Alliance, casually killed 8 golden-ranked officials from the White Alliance, and even robbed and killed Xiao Chuan 100 times. Benove calm, her eyes faintly glowed with desire. This young man in front of her seemed to have a different kind of magical power and had created countless miracles. It was as if nothing was impossible when it came to him. Lu Chongping continued, previously, you killed the 8 golden-ranked experts. Similarly, they would not pose any threat to you. However, according to our understanding, the Shao family should still have an expert hidden behind the scenes who had never appeared before. Because a year ago, there was a heaven-rank expert who wanted to go to the Shao family to kill the head of the Shao family, and his skills were far higher than Lin's. He had just barely touched the threshold of the acquired realm. According to our spies, the head of the Shao family had been slashed twice, and the second slash had almost cut off his hand. At the most critical moment, a black shadow flashed by, and the assassin's head was separated from his body. An instant kill. Lu Yuan's eyes widened, and she covered her mouth with her hand. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Lu Chongping's expression was solemn. That's right. Most importantly, we don't know who that person is, what his identity is, or what methods he had used to be that quick. Lan Weiwei's expression was not one of giddy happiness anymore. Instead, she looked like a grown mature woman when she spoke up. In other words, as long as we kill him, we can kill the Shao family's patriarch and wipe out the entire Shao family. After all, the Shao family's patriarch doesn't have any skills to protect himself, right? Lu Changping nodded slowly. That's right. In the past, whenever there was a need to fight, Lin would be the one to step in. And during the assassination a year ago, the Shao family's patriarch's wrist, which had been slashed until it was a bloody mess, could not be recovered perfect. After saying that, everyone fell into deep thought. No one continued to speak. Everyone had seen how powerful Lu Chen's combat strength was. Especially the scene of him killing Lin. Even the group leader of the dragon team could not help but sigh in admiration. However, everyone knew that the Shao family had an acquired realm expert. If a heaven rank expert was the king of humans, then an acquired realm expert could be said to have already left the category of being a human. That person could be seen as the god of lands. Although Lu Chen was able to cut down the 320 million HP of the Guardian General in White Fog City with a single slash, everyone knew clearly that Lu Chen would not be able to casually unleash such a critical strike again. Otherwise, no one in the second world would be able to stand against Lu Chen. Even if the pre-heaven rank fighters of the Shao family were not as invincible as the Guardian General in White Fog City, it would still be extremely difficult to finish him off. Lu Chen did not hesitate and directly agreed, no problem. I'll deal with that person myself. The rest of the pawns in that family will be left for you to clean up. Lu Yuan's expression was a little worried. Lu Chen, do you want to reconsider this decision? That is an acquired realm expert after all. Lu Chen shook his head slightly. There's no need. Even if I don't kill him, he will find an opportunity to kill me. Instead of waiting for death and guarding against it, it will still appear at any moment. It's better to directly strike and kill him first. Lu Yuan was speechless. Lu Changping also nodded. All right, it's settled then. Tonight at 11 p.m. sharp, we will begin the operation. Late at night, moonlight cascaded the earth and the wind blew gently, as if it knew what was going to go down. Shao family. Shao family's head, Shao Bai, could be seen in the hall. There were 8 people sitting below him. Their faces were filled with fear. Master, Lu Chen is too strong. Even if we join forces, we still can't defeat him. Another woman with a pale face said, I've been killed by him 10 times. I can't even walk properly anymore. Now, the young master has been locked up, and most of the members have left out of fear. Shao Bai's face was gloomy. The White Alliance had more than 10,000 people, the largest in the entire dragon country. They thought that with this force, they would be able to rise up in the second world, but they did not expect to fall so hard and become a laughingstock. The most important thing was that the hearts of the people in the White Alliance had already shattered. Their own grandson had also been imprisoned. As the head of the family was about to say something, a message suddenly came from his cell phone. This message directly brought upon creases on his face as his eyes widened in fear. Chapter 63. Acquired Realm Expert Hidden in the Shadows. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 63. Acquired Realm Expert Hidden in the Shadows. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. When he read the message, the veins on the Zhao's head of family bulged. He was so shocked that the phone screen started to crack from a tight unconscious grip. After a full 10 seconds, he forcefully suppressed his anger. All of you can go back. These matters are not your fault. The 8 people below the man felt a sense of relief. Some of them even wiped the beads of sweat off their heads, bowed deeply, and hurriedly got up and walked out. Shao Bai slowly closed his eyes, and softly spoke. He looked as though he was speaking to himself. Elder Ling. At this moment, an old man appeared from a shadowed corner that would have been difficult for one to notice his presence. One could vaguely see that he was a short and hunchbacked old man, and one could assume that he was extremely weak. However, the fierce aura emitted from his body made people feel that there was a sharp edge and grit in the way he carried himself. The old and sinister voice spoke, "If I make a move, it'll be the last time you'll ever get my assistance. Have you thought this through? Is it really worth it to use it to kill this brat?" A burst of terrifying laughter ensued. However, Xiao Bai did not have the slightest bit of fear. "Back then, our Xiao family found the right pills for you and helped you become an acquired expert. We hope that you can help us get through these difficult times. The first time was when my father asked you to kill the head of the Su family in order to reach the peak of the dragon country. The second time was a year ago when that heaven-rank expert tried to assassinate me. You saved my life. This third time, as long as you can kill him, you won't owe our Xiao family anymore. Alright, then I shall help you with this request." As he spoke, the figure that seemed to be on the verge of death moved slightly and slowly merged into the darkness once again. It was as if there had never been anyone there ever. It was extremely strange. "Lu Chen, oh Lu Chen, I didn't even have to take the initiative to look for you. You actually delivered yourself to my door. You can't blame me for this." After he finished speaking, Xiao Bai closed his eyes, as if waiting for Lu Chen's arrival. The hall was so silent that if a pin dropped, it could be heard. At the entrance of the Xiao family manor, iron doors towered high. This place, which should have been tightly sealed, was opened, as if it waited for Lu Chen to enter. Lu Chen and Lan Weiwei stood at the door, and the atmosphere was somber. Only the panda in Lan Weiwei's arms seemed to be unaware of everything. It held the bamboo and nibbled it bit by bit contently. This happy scene did not fit well with the current situation. The two walked in through the door. The manor, which should have been brightly lit, was now incomparably dark. If it was not for the moon that hung high in the sky shining the way, one would not be able to see anything at all. Lu Chen frowned slightly. "Be careful, something is not right." Obviously, no matter how well the secret measures of the Dragon Country were done, it would be difficult to completely hide information from the Xiao family. The secret of this operation could have been leaked, they might have been expecting them already. However, it did not matter. In the face of absolute strength, all techniques were illusory. Moreover, as long as the moon still shone, it would be advantageous to Lu Chen. Lan Weiwei's ears twitched slightly. At this moment, her eyes flashed with a hint of green light. Her gaze was somewhat cautious as she held on to Raleigh tighter. "I have a feeling that danger will appear from the surrounding shadows." Lu Chen nodded. If Xiao Bai dared to wait for him in such a grand manner, then it means that he was extremely confident in being able to destroy him. How strong was an acquired realm expert? Lu Chen was eager to experience battling one, but he dared not to let his guard down. The two carefully walked towards the hall, on constant high vigilance. Only the panda in Lan Weiwei's arms ate happily, he even enjoyed himself in Lan Weiwei's arms. In the dark night, as an ancient wolf, Lan Weiwei's night vision was not hindered at all. Even Lu Chen was a little envious for that characteristic. If he could have such a strong night vision, then his assassination ability could be doubled. However, feeling the nourishment of the moonlight, Lu Chen was not afraid. After more than 10 minutes, he finally arrived at the hall. "You're finally here. I've been waiting." Xiao Bai, who sat on his seat comfortably, narrowed his eyes slightly as if he had just woken up. Lu Chen's eyes were solemn. "I did make you wait for a long time. In the second world, when the Xiao family attacked me for the first time, I should have been the one at the resurrection point killing all the members of the White Alliance myself." Not only did Xiao Bai's expression not turn ugly, he even looked relaxed. He picked up the tea on the table and took a sip. "The tea is good, but it's a pity that it's gone cold." Then, he raised his head and looked at Lu Chen. "You're brave coming here knowing that you've become an enemy of our Xiao family. I know that you're very strong, but there's a limit to how strong you can be. Because your physical body has restricted your highest strength, there's no way that you can withstand great attack. If you're willing to join our Shao family, not only will I let bygones be bygones, but I can also help you solve this problem. Lu Chen's gaze was slightly shaken. How was he going to solve the issue of his physical body holding him back? This offer was much too tempting. To Lu Chen, if the grudges he held were not severe, he might have been tempted. The opportunity that could allow him to unleash his full strength was no small feat. However, it quickly turned into a passing thought. Within a second, Lu Chen's gaze regained its calmness. If you said this from the start, even if it was to threaten me to find my real identity, I would be able to accept it. Now, after what you've done, it's too late to say things like these. When Xiao Bai heard Lu Chen's reply, all hope he held in his eyes instantly disappeared. Even his gaze dimmed a little. He waved his hand and extinguished the few lamps beside him. His voice was desolate as he spoke. In that case, do you really have the courage to destroy our Shao family? The moment the candles extinguished, the hall instantly darkened. With that, Lu Chen instantly felt a chill run down his spine and hesitantly stepped back. Suddenly, a pitch-black dagger flew right towards where Lu Chen moved from. This dagger seemed to not be made from normal metal. It did not have any luster. Instead, it moved like a shadow, making it hard for one to notice its presence. At this moment, a thread of cloth hung on the dagger and a light appeared when it slashed downward. Then, with a swing of the dagger going upward, it once again entered the darkness. There was no trace of it after it disappeared. This fluid assassination technique was extremely smooth, without the slightest bit of sloppiness. Even Lan Weiwei, an ancient ash wolf, did not manage to react in time to such an attack. This terrifying speed and perfect assassination technique shocked her beyond compare. Most importantly, with her keen eyes, she did not notice that there was someone in the shadows. To be exact, this assassin did not rely on his shadow to hide his identity. At this moment, beads of sweat appeared on Lu Chen's forehead. He thought that he still stood a chance against an acquired realm expert, but they did not mention that this expert was an assassin as well. He was familiar with this technique of escaping further away after missing an attack, but it was because of this that he understood how terrifying this assassin could truly be. If he was not mistaken, this assassin was able to be one with the shadows. What kind of supernatural power was this? Was this the ancient martial art technique that had once disappeared from the world? Was this the one and only legendary move from it? Chapter 64. The first president of the Night Union, Ling Yin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 64. The first president of the Night Union, Ling Yin. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. While Lu Chen was shocked, in a corner far away from the hall, a shadow appeared from the darkness around it. In the end, it turned into a hunched old man. The old man looked at the person in front of him as if he had seen something rare. Ha! Little child, you're quite nimble. This is the first time I've missed in 20 years. You've hurt my pride. I'll have to kill you for that. The old man spoke indifferently. He talked as though he was going to step on some measly ants. The first time in the past 20 years. Lu Chen was confused. Lan Weiwei had already placed Raleigh on the ground to let him play by himself. Meanwhile, the faint image of a wolf's claw could be seen on her palm. The old man looked at Lan Weiwei's hand and his eyes seemed to emit a glow. This girl is special. She succeeded in transforming her hand into a wolf claw. It seems like a supernatural ability. If my guess is correct, you should be a wolf demon, right? In that case, looks like I've struck gold today. I'll have a demon core soon. Hearing these words, the coldness in Lu Chen's eyes became even colder. In his eyes, this assassin was already a dead man. Lan Weiwei had long lost her cute appearance. She looked at him coldly, ready to find a loophole to attack at any time. When Raleigh heard that the assassin wanted to take Lan Weiwei's demon core, he trembled in fear. Then, he mustered the courage to bare his teeth at the assassin to express his dissatisfaction. Xiao Bai sat in the hall and let out a long sigh. Well, there goes your opportunity to attack. Ling, how did you miss that shot? Do you know how difficult it was to rope him in? Looking at Xiao Bai, who was ridiculed the old man in the hall, Lu Chen still felt that something was not right. This old man was just an assassin. If he really did not care about killing Xiao Bai, he would not be able to stop him at all. What exactly was Xiao Bai relying on now? What other backup plans did he have? Without allowing Lu Chen to think too much, the old man once again slowly disappeared into the shadows around him. Brat, you are worthy of knowing my name. I'm the first president of the Night Union, Ling Yin. What was surprising was that the old man's voice seemed to have echoed from all directions. Lu Chen could not figure out where the real sound was coming from. How did he do it? Lu Chen was reminded of Heiyu, who he had given the other party a teleportation scroll, being the president of the Night Union, was he not? One had to know that the Dark Union had been somewhat fearful of Xiao Chuan back then. At the same time, he remembered some information that Lu Yuan had given him, including this person called Ling Yin. She even mentioned that this person came from an ancient martial arts aristocratic family. His entire family had been exterminated because they had offended their enemies. Only he, who was still young, was rescued and trained. Finally, at the age of 20, he assassinated all of his enemies and formed an assassin organization, the Night Union. Therefore, Ling Yin had completely established his name in the ancient martial arts world. He was known for his magical ability that could merge with the shadow, and it was close to impossible to guard against. No one in their right mind would dare provoke an assassin who could appear from his shadow and kill them at any time. Therefore, the reputation of the Night Union soared high. However, when Ling Yin was 50 years old, he suddenly disappeared, and no one knew where he went. The Dark Union had gone through a long period of turmoil and reorganization before it was directed into the right track today. Of all places to meet him, Lu Chen did not expect to meet him here. What made him feel troubled was that none of Ling Yin's targets had ever escaped. A one-hit kill was his signature move. No one would survive until he assassinated them. It was the same even if their level was higher than his. However, today was destined to be a long battle. Lu Chen and Lan Weiwei's came prepared. It was impossible to kill them in one hit. Lu Chen knew that Lu Chanping's troops were far away. If he needed them, he could shine a military searchlight that could illuminate a signal a kilometer away at any time. However, if that was the case, it was very likely that Ling Yin would not show his presence at all. Just as Lu Chen was thinking of a solution, Lan Weiwei, who was at the side, had already started fighting with the shadows. Black daggers kept appearing from the black shadows in all directions. From different angles, the daggers were aimed at her vital points. 1 second, the daggers were still in front of her, but the next moment, they appeared behind her. This ability to teleport in the shadows was very troublesome. Although Lan Weiwei's movements were agile and her attack power was as high as 20,000, she could not cause any damage to the shadowed attacks. On the other hand, Ling Yin's casual slash was enough to reduce Lan Weiwei's health bar by quite a bit. 3,500 HP. 4,678 HP. 14,534 HP. 3,429 HP. In less than a minute, Lan Weiwei's 100,000 HP bar had been reduced by half. If not for Moonlight's blessing, she would probably have died by now. This fighting pace was already considered slow for Ling Yin. After all, he usually his targets with a single slash. In the distance, many members of the dragon team observed the fight. They were extremely anxious, but they knew that the matter at hand was not something they could participate in. With their strength, they would just end up becoming burdens in the fight. One of the team members said anxiously, "Why don't we use the specially made bullets to snipe him from a distance? It's not like we haven't sniped an ancient martial art practitioner before." Lu Yuan quickly denied this suggestion. "No way. That assassin should be Ling Yin, who disappeared for many years. Look at him, he's been fighting for so long, but his body has never left the shadow. The bullets won't have any effect at all. Moreover, they're moving too quickly, we might accidentally hurt Lan Weiwei." They all knew that Lan Weiwei could be fast enough to dodge the bullet. However, the problem was that if she gets distracted even for a second, she would be instantly pierced through. Ling Yin's dagger might normally cause thousands or even tens of thousands of damage, but if it really cut Lan Weiwei's throat off, it could be equivalent to a second world armor-piercing and explosive strike, directly taking Lan Weiwei's life away. While everyone silently pondered, Lu Changping's earpiece suddenly rang out, "Get the dragon team to immediately spread out and surround the entire manor. Wait for my signal later, turn on all the searchlights." It was Lu Chen's voice. Everyone's spirits were instantly lifted. Initially, when everyone saw that Lu Chen was idle, they held heavy hearts. Can't morning mist break through this trap? However, now, when they heard his voice, everyone felt as if they had been reassured. Lu Changping immediately assigned tasks to the team. "Zhang Ming, lead 3 people and a searchlight to the high mountain 500 meters north of the manor. Chen Liang, take 2 people and a searchlight to the signal tower 800 meters east." Lu Yuan was a little anxious. "What about me? I don't have a searchlight." Lu Changping gritted his teeth. "Go to the Chunmao building in the north and immediately contact their general manager. Move all the commercial searchlights in their building to the top of the building. We need as many as we can get. Today, our task is to help Lu Chen as much as possible. Let's see Lu Chen kill that old man alone." Chapter 65. How do you catch a sly fox? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 65. How do you catch a sly fox? Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. As soon as Lu Changping's order was given, everyone rushed to their destination without any hesitation. This battle was not only about the life and death of an individual, but it might even be about the life and death of the entire dragon country. Throughout the entire world, the beautiful country, the island country, the cold country, and the eagle country had all made great achievements. Beautiful country had relied on its outstanding technological strength and powerful financial strength to stand at the peak of the mecha field. There was once a top-tier warrior who used a mecha to kill a lord with a single shot. Island country was split into 2 major factions, ninjutsu experts and yin-yang families. They each used their own abilities to fight and relied on their unfathomable abilities to crazily fight monsters. Cold country had almost disappeared under the suppression of the country. However, the arrival of the Second World Game had made them rise up and become the top guilds. It was said that a priest of that country had arrived in a city and was ready to accept the test in the next few days. Eagle country has a unified system and an absolute specialized army. They were completely different from the motley crew of the White Alliance. Although they did not have the combat strength like Lu Chen, they had already become heavy fighters for attacking cities and plundering land with their army. If something went wrong with Lu Chen this time, the entire dragon country would fall behind by a lot. If they could not catch up with other countries, they would probably lose countless lives. This was something no one wanted to experience. Everyone moved very quickly. In less than 5 minutes, everyone was in position. At this time, Lu Chen finally moved. He switched to the sword god mode. If he was in Second World, everyone would have seen a golden symbol sword god appearing above his head. His stats soared. His original basic combat power increased by 7 times from 19,850 to 138,950. When the moonlight shone in from the outside, under the moonlight's blessing, the moonlight fused into his body. After an enlightening feeling, Lu Chen's combat power increased by 50% again, reaching an astonishing 208,425. This was the combat power buff that came from the title. One had to know that Lu Chen's attack speed was already 16.5. Under the Sword God title, his attack speed increased by 800%, and he could now slash 132 times in a second. This also meant that Lu Chen could deal 27,512,100 damage in a second. This was close to 30 million. Such a strike was definitely not something the opponent could withstand. However, the problem was, how was Lu Chen going to break out of this situation? As long as the shadow was there, Ling Yin would be able to turn invisible. If he shined his light, the opponent would also shift away as the shadow retreated. No one could think of a solution. Xiao Bai, who sat on the throne, grew more and more confident as time went by. He was not worried that Ling Yin would fail. He also knew that as long as Lu Chen died, the country would not dare make a move against the Xiao family. After all, among the people who entered the acquired realm, the strongest was the ancestor of the Xiao family, who was at the spiritual realm. No one would dare offend a dead person from the Xiao family. If it was just a dead person in the Second World game, no one would bat an eye. So much so in the real world, no one would care. When Lu Chen was ready to make a move, adrenaline pumped into his veins, readying himself. At this time, Ling Yin was fighting with Lan Weiwei. When he saw Lu Chen move, he returned to the shadows and disappeared without a trace. Lan Weiwei took a few steps back and stood under the moonlight. Lan Weiwei's was recovering rapidly. In less than a minute, she was back to full health. This gave Lu Chen some confidence in this situation. Lu Chen constantly sensed his surroundings. The area was dark and the wind blew silently. Other than the faint sound of the wind coming from outside, there was nothing unusual. The shadows on the ground seemed to hide countless killing intent, but no one could figure out where Ling Yin was. At the same time, Ling Yin tried to confuse him even more, and his voice came from all directions. Kid, I have to say that your combat strength is really strong. Judging from your aura just now, you can definitely reach the peak of the mid-acquired realm fighter. If you were to meet other acquired realm experts, although you might not be able to win, at least no one would be able to stop you. That girl looked weak. I didn't expect her to react well and not be able to instantly be killed by me. I don't know if you have the same grit as her. Why don't I kill you in an instant first and then grind her to death bit by bit? Lan Weiwei looked at Lu Chen worriedly. She wanted to rush forward to help, but was stopped by a certain look from Lu Chen. He closed his eyes and began to listen carefully to the other party's words. Although the voice came from all directions, Lu Chen was still trying to figure out the main direction it was coming from. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. You hid yourself very well. I really can't tell where you're from. Although, there is something wrong with your voice. Ling Yin's breathing paused, and then he asked, Oh. Tell me about it. Lu Chen said, This hall is too big. There are echoes everywhere, but when I listened carefully, I found that only the echo in the southeast corner is the smallest. There is almost no echo. So, you must have spoken from there. Before he finished his words, Lu Chen charged directly toward the southeast corner and swung his sword fiercely. At this moment, even Xiao Bai's eyes became a little solemn. The high-level officials of the Dragon Country had investigated Lu Chen's situation before, so the damage that he had caused under the Sword God state could not be recovered at all. No one dared to bet whether this kind of damage would affect the shadow. The golden light of his weapon directly hit the southeast corner. The sword aura directly passed through and emitted golden light. The moment it touched the wall, it sliced through like butter. Without any hindrance, it passed through the wall. A bottomless crack appeared on the ground. Under the power of the Sword God state, even the shadow on the ground shook slightly. You're much too arrogant, boy. Lu Chen's movements were indeed quick. However, as an assassin, Ling Yin's movements kept up with the motions. When Lu Chen swung his blade 132 times, Ling Yin did not dare to be careless at all. He immediately dodged and left. At the same time, he found a loophole and flashed out with his weapon. The pitch-black blade directly pierced through his skin, brushed past his ribs, and ruthlessly stabbed into his heart. Poochie! A bloodthirsty killing intent appeared in Ling Yin's eyes. It worked. His 3-time agreement to help the Shao family was finally lifted, and he was free. More importantly, the number one person in the second world, Lu Chen, actually died in his hands. This was definitely a great honor to hold. Lan Weiwei's face instantly turned deathly pale, and her body suddenly trembled. Even Raleigh, who had been gnawing on bamboo all this time, stopped and looked nervously at Lu Chen. In the distance, Lu Yuan's heart seemed to have been violently tugged, and she could not help but shout, "Lu Chen!" Lu Changping's fight was being played in the Dragon Country's conference room. At this moment, there were more than 10 high-level officials watching the scene unfold. Their heartbeats were raised manifold when they saw what happened. Ling Yin smiled cruelly. He tried to look for fear, helplessness, and fear on the other party's face. Chapter 66. I'm in the atmosphere. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 66. I'm in the atmosphere. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Everyone's hearts felt heavy. On the contrary, Xiao Bai, who was further away, could not help but reveal a look of joy in his eyes. The scourge that had caused the Shao family to fall into disarray in the second world, and destroyed more than half of the members of the White Alliance to withdraw from the association, finally died. Even Lan Weiwei, who would share the same fate as Lu Chen, felt a little uneasy in her heart. With such a serious injury, even if Lu Chen did not die, his strength would probably be greatly reduced. Everyone thought that Lu Chen was finished, but Ling Yin, on the other hand, wavered. This was because, in the next second, a hand firmly grabbed onto Ling Yin like an iron pincer, and he could not move. Ling Yin did not falter. Instead, a trace of a smile actually appeared on his face. He slowly raised the weapon in his other hand and directly chopped down the limb that grabbed onto him. Odd enough, Ling Yin felt goosebumps on his neck when he did that. He quickly used his other hand to pull out the dagger that was stabbed into Lu Chen's chest and swung it down again. This time, he did not charge at Lu Chen, he only hacked away at his arm. Bedo Dem, the opponent in front of him, seemed like he could not be killed at all. The dagger had been stabbed into his heart, so how could he still be moving and alive? At this moment, the most ruthless decision he made was to cut off his arm to save his life. Blood splattered everywhere once he made that desperate choice. Ling Yin cut off his arm and immediately prepared to return to the shadows. At this moment, Lu Chen suddenly raised the hand that held onto the severed arm. In an instant, searchlights appeared in all four directions at the same time. Not just the illuminated halls, but even the surrounding 1,000 meters were as bright as day. There was no chance for a shadow to appear at all. F***ck. Ling Yin finally understood what was going on. Whether it was Lu Chen being assassinated, grabbing onto his arm, or even cutting off his very own arm, every step was within his opponent's calculations. As for him now, without a shadow aid, he was probably only slightly stronger than a heaven-rank expert. How could he beat his opponent? Escape was the only option. This was the only thought left in Ling Yin's mind. With that, his feet soared away like the wind. However, Lu Chen was one step ahead of him. A dagger appeared in his hand and he directly slashed it across Ling Yin's neck. Ling Yin felt the whole world spin, as his head fell onto the ground, dead. Due to Lu Chen's speedy move, his body had already run dozens of meters away from his head. The first president of assassins had just been murdered. Everyone was completely shocked by this scene. How could this be? Xiao Bai stared with widened eyes, he could not believe that his assassin had died this quickly. The people of the dragon team were also incomparably shocked. This series of events had come too suddenly. They had just turned their light beams on when the other party had issued an order, but Ling Yin had actually died within that short time. The meeting room of the high-level officials of the dragon country was completely silent. Sitting at the very end, Gu Yiming, who had been brought in by the elders of the Gu family, swallowed hard and let out a gulp. Too many things had happened in the past few seconds, and the turn of events was quite a shock for everyone there. First, Lan Weiwei had been tortured by Ling Yin, who hid in the shadows countless times. Then, Lu Chen had found a loophole, but Ling Yin was already one step ahead. Suddenly, the tables turned, and Ling Yin had been killed. This series of reversals could be said to be the biggest roundabout event ever. It was amazing. Only Lu Chen understood how he survived. That was because after he had slashed 132 times with his activated sword god state, he immediately changed his title to Dark Shura, which allowed him to be immune to damage once. Therefore, even when Ling Yin stabbed Lu Chen's heart, he was unable to cause any damage. This was also Lu Chen's second life skill. It was because of him activating Dark Shura that his opponent was unable to escape and complete the instant kill move. From an outsider's perspective, this battle ended in just a few seconds. However, only Lu Chen, who was in the middle of it, understood the dangers and everything involved. However, this time, Lu Chen now understood that even among acquired realm experts, he was a rather powerful existence. Lu Changping's orders were transmitted through the earpiece after a moment of silence. Lu Chen, you can go back and rest after you're done. We'll clean up the rest. The so-called cleaning was to clean up the remaining members of the Shao family. Regardless of whether it was Xiao Bai, his subordinates, or even the industry workers, they all needed to be dealt with separately. However, Lu Chen's reply was curt, I'm not done yet. Not done yet. Hearing Lu Chen's words, the members of the dragon team were somewhat puzzled. Ling Yin's head had already fallen off. Was there anything else that needed to be dealt with? In the hall, only Lu Chen and Lan Weiwei looked at Xiao Bai without the slightest intention of dropping their defenses. If the fight with Ling Yin was considered a 10, then Xiao Bai could be rated as a 100. If Lu Chen was not sure before, then Lan Weiwei's attitude towards Xiao Bai made him certain that this person was definitely not what was mentioned in the information they had before. He definitely was not an ordinary person whatsoever. At this moment, Lan Weiwei reacted like a wolf and slightly bared her teeth at Xiao Bai. However, she did exert the slightest bit of fear. On the contrary, she looked a little cute. If it were not for the current situation, Lu Chen would have wanted to rub her head. Beside her, Raleigh, who had been eating on a piece of bamboo, took out 2 bamboo shoots from Lan Weiwei's pocket and hid in the furthest corner. This time, however, even when he ate the bamboo shoots, the little fellow's eyes were still fixed on Xiao Bai. He did not look relaxed one bit. Xiao Bai's face revealed a faint smile. He then clapped his hands together as the sound echoed throughout the silent building. Good, it really you morning mist. You've only trained for less than a month, yet you were able to kill Ling Yin, who has trained for nearly 100 years. Lu Chen was unmoved from his spot. He glanced at Ling Yin who was lying on the ground. Did you just watch as I killed your subordinate? If this matter were to spread, have you ever thought of how much your Shao family's reputation would drop from it? A trace of disdain actually appeared on Xiao Bai's face. Shao family. Him. Part of the Shao family. Ling Yin said that he would leave after completing the Shao family's 3 requests, so why should I protect him? Moreover, this trash couldn't even beat you. He should just die like the trash he is. Lu Chen frowned. What do you mean? From the intelligence reports, not only were Lin and Xiao Bai classmates, but they were also comrades who had fought together in the past. The 2 of them had a relationship as close as family. Back then, Lin was always being humiliated, and it was Xiao Bai who had personally led people to wipe out others that got in his way. With such a history, how could Xiao Bai call the other party trash? Xiao Bai smiled coldly, and the wrinkles on his face creased. However, his entire aura instantly rose. A strong gust of wind shot out from his body and blew in varying directions. The strong wind blew Lu Chen's attire, causing the clothes to flutter wildly. The wall that had been cut open by Lu Chen's sword had finally collapsed. Lu Yuan looked at the hull in the distance and her eyelids twitched. Yellow grade. Black grade. Earth grade. Heaven grade. Xiao Bai's aura rose at a rapid speed from the beginning to the end. He did not stop at all. He has already broken through to the heaven grade. Xiao Bai is actually an acquired realm expert. Lu Yuan covered her mouth and her beautiful eyes looked at Xiao Bai in disbelief. Lu Changping's mood seemed to have worsened greatly as he spoke. It seems that things are about to get more complicated. Chapter 67. Danger. A hidden spiritual realm expert. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 67. Danger. A hidden spiritual realm expert. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Lu Changping continued on, if he's just an ordinary acquired realm expert, why would the Xiao family hide it? With such an expert around, the Xiao family's status could have skyrocketed. Xiao Bai's strength seems endless. Has he reached the peak of the acquired realm? Lu Yuan found it hard to believe. If the acquired realm was hard enough to achieve, the peak of the acquired realm was an existence that could absolutely crush other ordinary acquired realm experts. If the first president of the Dark Union, Ling Yin, faced an expert at the peak of the acquired realm, he would definitely not have the slightest intention of assassinating him. Instead, he would flee as far away as possible. As expected, Xiao Bai's condition had risen to almost the peak of being in the acquired realm. Although his speed had slowed down, he did not stop at all. Lu Chen and the others felt the pressure Xiao Bai exerted onto them increased as made his way. Prior to this, Ling Yin and Lan Weiwei's combat strength were not that far apart. It was just that his methods were eccentric, just like how Lan Weiwei, who was still in her ancient wolf form, faced Lu Chen. If it was not for the fact that Lan Weiwei had used a powerful skill, she would probably have been killed by Lu Chen as well. However, her special skill was still on cooldown and could not be used immediately again. Otherwise, Ling Yin might not have been a match for Lan Weiwei, who had high attack and defense points. After all, Lan Weiwei's bloodline can continuously be upgraded after she receives the Moonlight's blessing. Once she enters a berserk state, she might be able to barely enter the early stages of the acquired realm. However, Xiao Bai was apparently different. His aura had already reached the peak of the acquired realm, giving people a great sense of pressure. Although Ling Yin had given people a great sense of pressure before, the feeling that Xiao Bai exuded was completely different from Ling Yin. If Ling Yin gave people the feeling that he was like a dangerous poisonous snake, then Xiao Bai was like a ferocious tiger that only had murderous intent. As everyone was shocked by Xiao Bai's sudden change, an almost inaudible but also exceptionally clear sound suddenly rang out in everyone's ears. It was as if a glass had suddenly shattered, or the sound of an egg cracking. The sound was extremely soft but extremely sharp. As the members of the dragon team were looking around in astonishment, someone shockingly discovered that the hair on Lu Changping's arm had all stood up. His mouth was wide open, and his eyes stared into the distance. He was so shocked that he could not speak for a long time. After a full half a minute, he growled at everyone and gave an order, "Everyone, retreat at least 2,000 meters from here immediately. Pay attention, run as fast as you can, and don't look back." The others who were from another location could no longer wait for an order when they heard that noise. They hurriedly took out their communicative devices and asked, "Leader, should we gather somewhere else?" Lu Changping did not even have time to pack his equipment. He directly dragged the two members beside him and ran out without caring about their lives. Leave all your equipment, don't bring any with you. With Xiao Bai's location as the center, run to a place at least 2,000 meters away. That Xiao Bai, he's a spiritual realm expert. Lu Changping's roar could be heard from every walkie-talkie. Everyone felt as though the temperature around them had dropped by tens of degrees when they heard him. A spiritual realm master. If an acquired expert could dodge bullets and weapons, then a spiritual master would definitely be invulnerable to any attacks whatsoever. Ordinary pistols could not penetrate their defense at all, and their attacks were stronger than a missile launch. This kind of fighting strength was incredible and could be considered the top of the country. Each spiritual realm expert was considered a national treasure, and they were the people that the country would focus on protecting. The focus of protection also meant strict surveillance and defense. In the Dragon Conference Room, the high-level officials of the Dragon Country looked at everything in front of them in great shock. Perhaps ordinary people would not care about that slight sound, but everyone present was sure what that sound meant. This was precisely the symbol of an acquired expert stepping into the spiritual realm, cocoon breaking. The higher-ups were all stunned. Originally, some of them watched and commented on the battle anxiously. Some people nodded their heads in satisfaction because the Xiao family had been destroyed and Lu Chen had risen. Some people even smiled and drank their drinks happily as they prepared to leave after the meeting. The moment the sound of cocoon breaking was heard, everyone stopped moving. The secretary, who was still refilling the tea for everyone, gripped the teapot so hard that their knuckles turned white. After that, he remained motionless like a wooden figure. He did not even notice that the tea had spilled out of the cup. A large pool of tea flowed onto the table. After that, it flowed onto the outfit of another long-bearded old man. Only when the old man realized that something was burning him. Only then did he come back to his senses. Should we ask the chief to send out the great elder of the dragon team immediately? Another executive immediately replied, I agree. When an unknown expert appears, we can always ask the great elder to come out and then report to the chief who is first in charge. After all, this matter had gotten way more serious than we expected. We must contain it as soon as possible. The Dragon team was an important combat team that only the higher-ups of the Dragon country knew about. Even the reserve members were at least second lieutenants, and their strength was at least a late-stage yellow-grade expert. The leader of the Dragon team, Lu Changping, had the strength of an early-stage heaven-grade expert. However, only the top higher-ups who truly understood the Dragon team knew that after every leader of the Dragon team retired, they would become part of another Dragon team run by Zhang. Lu Changping was certain that there was an acquired realm expert in the country because of this. However, he did not know that the first elder of the Dragon group had the strength of a spiritual realm expert. He was also the only acquired realm expert in the country who had not entered the mystic realm. The difference between an acquired realm expert and a spiritual realm expert was extremely huge. Lu Chen was definitely not a match for the other party. The third chief in charge, who sat in the first seat, furrowed his brows tightly. His eyes continuously flickered, and then he said in a steady voice, "There's no need. Report it to the chief that is first in charge normally and deal with it according to the procedures of newly discovered spiritual realm experts." But. There is no but. This is an order. The third in charge took a deep breath and continued speaking, even if we find the first in charge now, it will take at least 2 hours to get to the Xiao family. This time could be enough for Xiao Bai to kill Lu Chen hundreds of times. It'll be meaningless. As he said that, he took out his phone and dialed a number. In the hall, Xiao Bai's phone rang. Xiao Bai glanced towards the sound and picked up the phone. His voice was a little gloomy as he answered, "What's the matter?" In the past, whenever the third in charge chief called the head of the Xiao family, the other party's attitude would be on good terms. However, today, everything has changed. Xiao Bai no longer needed to pretend to be kind anymore. The third-in-charge chief was obviously dissatisfied with the change in the other party's attitude. I hope that you can give him a way out. You should know the importance of Lu Chen to our dragon country. Of course I know. Xiao Bai's voice was emotionless as he spoke with a blank face. As long as Lu Chen is around, the dragon country will rise because of him. And his growing curve could be enough for the dragon country to crush all the other countries in the world. However, Xiao Bai paused for a moment. I also know that Lu Chen is a sworn enemy of our Xiao family. If he leaves this place alive today, you will no longer have the Xiao family by your side. I have given him a chance, more than once, in fact. Since he didn't want it, then he should just die. With that, the phone in Xiao Bai's hand shattered. Then, with a raise of his hand, a gust of wind formed into the form of a tiger's claw as it directly charged towards Lu Chen. Chapter 68. A Pseudo-Spiritual Realm Expert. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 68. A Pseudo-Spiritual Realm Expert. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. When Xiao Bai made his move, it looked just an ordinary attack, but it was definitely a killing move for Lu Chen. That strong wind looked like a tiger's claw carried a faint whistling momentum as it was directed towards Lu Chen. Killing intent surged as it got closer and closer. This kind of killing intent could be clearly felt by even the higher UPS that sat in the meeting room through the cameras in the extreme distance. This kind of killing intent had even condensed more and more. The third chief looked at the other party hanging and gritted his teeth fiercely. Xiao Bai has to be eliminated, or else he would be a great disaster for the dragon country. Quickly, get the first elder to the meeting room. Following the order, someone immediately invited the first elder to the meeting room. In less than a minute or two, the first elder arrived in the meeting room with a strong presence. What are you all doing? There was a spiritual realm expert hiding in the country this whole time, but no one knew. I don't know what all of you are doing, but you've made a big mistake. The first elder came in with a walking stick and a spear. Although his position was not as high as the third chief, he did not care about statuses and spoke his mind. This was due to the appearance of a spiritual realm expert that was enough to bring a crisis to the country. The third chief dared not to express any dissatisfaction because the first elder was the guardian god of the country. He only had a helpless look on his face. First elder, let's not make haste. Let's focus on Xiao Bai's situation first before pointing fingers, all right? The matter was urgent. The first elder shut his mouth. Instead, he looked at the screen and narrowed his eyes slightly as he spoke to everyone around. As you all know, he has been an ordinary person for so many years and has never shown any great strength. It is obvious that he should be a pseudo-spiritual realm expert right now. A pseudo-spiritual realm expert. All the higher-ups were puzzled. No one had ever heard of the term pseudo-spiritual. The first elder nodded slightly. That's right. I have never seen this realm before either. However, I once discovered the existence of this realm in an ancient book. If it was an ordinary expert, without a special training technique or treasure, it would be impossible for them to hide their training all the time. However, if they trained using some unorthodox evil techniques, in order to avoid getting themselves killed, they would often support a training technique that could hide their training tactics from the very beginning. Only when one day they truly entered the spiritual realm and released their training knowledge would they be able to fully display their skills in front of outsiders. However, he is only at the spiritual level right now and doesn't have the corresponding strength and battle experience. Thus, he can only be called a pseudo-spiritual realm expert. When these words were said, the higher-ups all understood what he meant, but everyone still had tense shoulders. At the same time, the secretary mentioned some new information to Lu Chongping and then to Lu Chen. In the hall, when Lu Chen faced Xiao Bai's powerful attack, he immediately felt an abnormal sense of danger. He dared not to hesitate at all and immediately dodged the attack. On the wall behind him, a tiger claw mark that was as tall as a person suddenly appeared. It pierced through the wall and directly shattered a room dozens of meters behind him. Lu Chen turned his head to look at the marking and noticed that it was a clean hit. This was an indication of an extremely high training level. Lu Chen did not hesitate at all. He immediately activated the Sword God title again and attacked Xiao Bai with 132 slashes. Damage of close to 30 million directly struck in front of Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai himself was vigilant. He raised his hand and punched out with all his strength, directly dispersing Lu Chen's attacks. The remaining power did not pose any threat to him at all. However, this attack did indeed make Xiao Bai apprehensive. His opponent was clearly only at the acquired level, yet he was actually able to stand on equal footing with him. However, after this attack, he was certain that this kid would not be able to keep up. In the next moment, Lu Chen, Lan Weiwei, and Xiao Bai directly engaged in battle. Wolf claws, tiger fists, blades, and swords interweaved, turning the entire hall into ruins. Occasionally, attacks were missed as it destroyed the countless buildings nearby. At the same time, everyone that was around retreated. Of course, the dragon team was constantly controlling these people from the outside. As for whether to detain these people or give them preferential treatment, it would depend on the outcome of this battle. The title of Blade God and Sword God continued to rotate above Lu Chen's head. However, it did not seem to be of much use to Xiao Bai. The high load of the battle increased the pressure on Lu Chen and Xiao Bai. Lan Weiwei, hold on. After saying that, Lu Chen immediately flashed and jumped out of the battle. Lan Weiwei could not withstand the pressure coming from Xiao Bai alone. Her body suddenly burst out with a bright light, and she directly transformed into the ancient ash wolf. Lu Chen looked at Lan Weiwei in surprise. After Lan Weiwei transformed into a human form, she once again transformed into the appearance of an ancient ash wolf. This was also her skill, true form transformation. When transformed into the ancient ash wolf king, all attributes are increased by 50%. Moonlight shone down and entered Lan Weiwei's body. This power coursed through her bloodstream as she bared her fangs. With the blessing of the ancient Ash Wolf King's bloodline and the Moon God's blessing, Lan Weiwei's combat strength had more than doubled. Ancient Ash Wolf King, Owner. Morning Mist, Name. Lan Weiwei, Intimacy. 150, Level. 25, Attack. 20,000, increases by 50% when transformed into the ancient Ash Wolf, increases by 50% with the Moonlight buff, the total is now 40,000, HP, 100,000, increases by 50% when transformed into the ancient Ash Wolf, increases by 50% with the Moonlight buff, the total is now 200,000, Defense. 800, increases by 50% when transformed into the ancient Ash Wolf, increases by 50% with the Moonlight buff, the total is now 1,600, Magic Defense. 800, increases by 50% when transformed into the ancient Ash Wolf, increases by 50% with the Moonlight buff, the total is now 1,600, Skills. Demonic Flame, Frost Domain, True Form Transformation, Ash Wolf's Fury, Moonlight's Blessing, Demonic Flame. The ancient Ash Wolf King spits out terrifying demonic flames, causing 8,000 physical and magic damage per second to the enemy in front of it. Frost Domain. Creates a frost domain, slowing down the enemy's attack speed and casting speed by 50%. True Form Transformation. When transformed into the ancient Ash Wolf King, all attributes increase by 50%. Ash Wolf's Fury. The ancient Ash Wolf King awakens the sleeping bloodline in its body, greatly increasing its own attributes, and has a chance to obtain an additional skill. Moonlight's Blessing. Under the moonlight, all attributes increase by 50%. Under the moonlight and the True Form Transformation enhancement, Lan Weiwei immediately unleashed her full firepower. Frost Domain was activated. Xiao Bai's movement speed was reduced by half. Ash Wolf's fury was activated. Her sleeping bloodline was instantly awakened. A new skill was awakened. At this moment, a new skill suddenly appeared on the interface in front of Lu Chen. Soul tracking. When this skill is used, it can leave a mark deep within the target's soul. It can track up to 3 people. The mark will remain for 3 months. This skill can be shared with the owner. Lu Chen's eyes lit up when he saw this skill. Chapter 69. Lu Chen unleashed his 80 million combat power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 69. Lu Chen unleashed his 80 million combat power. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. When the soul tracking skill appeared, Lu Chen got more and more excited. This skill may not seem as powerful as the true form transformation or Moonlight's Blessing, however, to Lu Chen, it was definitely a very useful skill. Especially for enemies that like to run away or hide themselves, like Ling Yin. Once he can find an effective way to attack, it would be useless no matter how invisible an assassin could be. If any enemy escaped thousands of miles away, then Lu Chen would be able to find the enemy no matter where they went. It could be a weapon to kill and seek revenge on others. When Lan Weiwei transformed into the ancient Ash Wolf King form, everyone in the dragon team and the conference room widened their eyes. Although some people knew that Lan Weiwei had come from the second world, only a few people knew her true identity. When she appeared, everyone finally confirmed that she was definitely the boss that had disappeared from the Wolf Valley. However, everyone quickly realized that she was far more powerful than the video that had circulated on the internet. Many people in the dragon team widened their eyes. They did not expect that such a cute girl could turn into such a menacing wolf. This scene was witnessed by many people. Although everything was hectic, including the scene of the house collapsing, no one thought too much about it. After all, who would have thought that there would only be a few people fighting in such a huge battle? Although people had discovered that their skills were transferable from the second world, there were still very few people who could not transfer it yet. There were even quite a number of people who went back to the resurrection point as they tried to bring their skills out of the second world. Their strength was only equivalent to those who trained regularly or knew a little martial arts. When this wolf appeared, everyone was shocked. What the H*LL is going on? Did I really cross over from the game after waking up? I didn't enter the gaming pod. What's going on? That's not right. There shouldn't be a cell phone in the second world. Moreover, the place where we woke up is indeed the real world. That wolf. Why do I feel that it looks a little familiar? Doesn't it look a little like the silver boss of Wolf Valley? That silver boss. Stop bull *ting me. If you say that this is the boss of Wolf Valley, I won't believe it. Doesn't it look different? That's not right. This wolf looks a little like the one that Morning Mist fought. Wasn't there a video on the internet of Morning Mist defeating the silver boss of Wolf Valley? F***ck, you're right. The color of its fur looks exactly the same. Stop bull *ting. That one is obviously much bigger than the one that fought with Morning Mist. Definitely. I remember that the wolf had a faint crescent between its brows back then. This one has it too. No way. Did it level up? But why is it with Morning Mist now? Please watch your words. It's not an it, it's a she. What? At this moment, a player named Entertaining Dinosaur suddenly appeared. I have a shocking piece of news for everyone. Everyone, do you still remember Morning Mist having a cute girl by his side? I remember that cute girl with big eyes. She looked like she was in love or something. If it wasn't for her following Morning Mist, I would have chased after her. Didn't that cute girl call Morning Mist brother or something? Then. Morning Mist is my brother. In law. Bull sh*t, that's my brother. In law. Entertaining dinosaur immediately interjected. Alright, stop arguing. When that girl first came out, I was nearby. At that time, I remembered her calling him master. What? I would never dare touch her. I'm afraid to get killed by morning mist. I don't want to go back to the resurrection point. So I guess morning mist is into these kinds of things. I want to call morning mist master too though. When entertaining dinosaur overheard that, he choked. Get lost. When the ancient ash wolf appeared just now, I was observing it with my binoculars from a kilometer away. I saw that cute little girl transform into that wolf. F***ck. What's going on? Is this for real? Although the contrast between cute and scary being the in thing now, this is just too much. F***ck, I remember now, I flirted with this girl who seemed to be called Lan Weiwei. Then, I was slapped back to the resurrection point. So, I actually offended a silver boss. Props to you for trying though. F***ck, F***king H***ll. I've offended Lan Weiwei too. I was planning to go to White Fog City to change my job. What should I do? Will I be slapped to death? You're thinking too much. I'm sure she's killed so many players. Do you think she'll even remember you? Seeing Lan Weiwei's appearance as the ancient Ash Wolf King, the game forum instantly exploded. The officials and some large factions were shocked that people from the second world could actually enter this world. The ordinary people were shocked that the Ash Wolf King appeared in front of them. Lan Weiwei looked like a small mountain, and no one could believe that such a small girl turned into such a huge wolf. Lu Chen and Lan Weiwei caused a huge storm of public opinion, but they did not know all of this went on because they faced a larger crisis. Xiao Bai's attack power was too strong. Any one of his attacks made it difficult for Lan Weiwei to block them. If Lan Weiwei had not transformed into the Ash Wolf King, she would have been defeated long ago. Even so, her health bar continued to drop tremendously. Moreover, even if Lan Weiwei used all her firepower, she could not hurt her opponent at all. The defense of a spiritual master was too strong. The difference made Lan Weiwei feel somewhat weak. If not for the Frost Domain being able to reduce the opponent's speed by half, Lan Weiwei's HP would have been emptied long ago. At this time, Lu Chen was not idle either. The moon in the sky gradually turned from white to purple. The moonlight sprinkled on the ground and shone on Lu Chen's body. His attack power soared crazily. Plus 30,000. Plus 60,000. Plus 100,000. With the support of the moonlight stored in his body, his combat power directly surged towards plus 140,000. It did not stop either. With the support of the Sword God state, his attack speed increased by 7-fold. It directly reached 1,120,000. At this moment, Lu Chen already felt physically strained. After all, he had not really completed the class change, so his endurance power was very limited. Even though his attack speed was enough to unleash 132 slashes, his body absolutely would not allow it. He slashed out nonetheless, he had to try his best. With that, 72 slashes ensued. In a second, he directly unleashed 81,160,000 combat power. At this moment, even the great elder of the dragon team in the meeting room could not help but take a deep breath. If it was him, he knew he would not be able to block such a fierce attack. Chapter 70. The Fourth Scroll. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 70. The Fourth Scroll. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Although Lu Chen managed to hit the Guardian General with 320 million attack power, that was because of his skill that could take out 20% of the enemy's health with a single slash. However, the chance of triggering it was actually extremely low. The actual attack power was only less than 400,000. Now, Lu Chen has managed to slash out more than 80 million combat power, 20 times more so than before. In addition, he was in this world now, not in the game world. Everyone, especially the members of the dragon team present, truly felt what it meant to have such power to destroy the world. Although the higher-ups were unable to feel that kind of aura on the spot, from the first elder's reaction, Xiao Bai probably would not be able to block it either. Although Lan Weiwei had already transformed into the Ash Wolf King, the worry shown on her eyes could still be seen. With a loud sound, the originally dilapidated hall turned into rubble. A deep pit the size of 100 meters had even appeared. Everyone's hearts raced from what happened. The members of the dragon team even let out a loud sigh. With this, even if Xiao Bai did not die, his fighting strength would probably be greatly reduced. However, only Lu Chen's eyes were still filled with deep worry. He still did not let down his guard. Because when he made his move, Xiao Bai's lips revealed a hint of a smile. Lan Weiwei, who was at the side, had already picked up something that rolled on the ground and quickly threw it further away. After that, she stared at the center of the deep pit with concern. The sound of unhurried footsteps could be heard from the thick smoke. Shame, it's a pity that my mirror was used on you. A black shadow gradually appeared. Not only was Xiao Bai unscathed, even his clothes were untouched. Xiao Bai's lips curled into a smile as he casually threw the silver mirror from hand to hand. Lu Chen glanced at it. This mirror looked somewhat damaged, but it was able to withstand 80 million critical hits. This kind of item could almost be classified as a divine weapon. You fool, everyone says that the acquired realm attacks could be godlike, but in front of a spiritual realm expert, that is nothing. This is because ordinary attacks cannot even break the protective barrier of a spiritual realm expert. As for your 80 million damage attack, I'm afraid you won't be able to use it a second time, right? Now, it's time for you to die. Xiao Bai's eyes suddenly turned vicious. His body arched slightly, and a tiger-shaped figure appeared on his body. It looked exactly like Lan Weiwei, who had transformed into the Ash Wolf King. However, Lan Weiwei had transformed into a physical form, while Xiao Bai looked like a phantom. However, his aura was more than 3 times stronger than before. He immediately pounced forward. In less than a tenth of a second, he arrived in front of Lu Chen. When that happened, Lu Chen unleashed a critical strike. His body did not have the strength to resist the attack, however. He did not even have the speed to escape. At this moment, under the purple moonlight, a huge wolf leaped high into the air. As it descended from the sky, a huge pillar of light filled with purple energy shot out from its mouth. Demonic flame. With the buff from her true body in the moonlight's help, the damage of this move reached 16,000. Moreover, it dealt both physical and magic damage. Although it was far from being strong enough, the distance between her and Xiao Bai was quite far. Lan Weiwei could only use this method in order to protect herself from a distance. Xiao Bai could not even be bothered to dodge the attack and directly tanked it head-on. In return, a scream came out of Xiao Bai's mouth. Lu Chen was stunned by the noise and hurriedly stepped back. Her attack had close to 20,000 attack power. How could a mere 16,000 attack power make Xiao Bai react like this? At this moment, Xiao Bai felt as if his soul was being burned. The pain was unbearable. Impossible. That beam of light just now clearly only had an insignificant attack power. It did not even have the possibility of stopping him in his tracks. How could it make him feel such pain? The first elder in the meeting room shook his head in confusion. What was going on? At this moment, Lu Chen suddenly understood that when the few of them fought earlier, they only had physical attacks. Even if he had used 80 million attacks, it was still a physical attack. Could it be that in this world, spiritual masters could only be immune to physical attacks? Thinking of this, Lu Chen directly changed his title to Blade God. Blade God. Your understanding of the blade has reached an unfathomable level. When you use a blade-type weapon, you will receive a special effect bonus. This effect will grow with your level. Frenzied Blade. When you transform into the Blade God, your attack will definitely be a critical hit. You will have a critical hit immunity effect and receive a 400% critical hit damage bonus. Bloodbath Blade God. When your enemies exceed 100 amount, your attack will become an area of effect damage of 100 meters. 50% of the damage will be converted into your HP. Swift Blade. When you use a blade-type weapon, you can deal 3 damage attacks at the same time. You can also use 60% of your maximum attack speed, regardless of your body's capabilities. Magic Blade. When you use a blade-type weapon, you can convert your physical damage into magic damage. In an instant, the attack power of the original 19,850 points instantly increased by 4 times, reaching 79,400 points. Under the effect of the Swift Blade skill, even though Lu Chen was very weak at the moment and was unable to unleash his maximum attack speed of 16.5%. His attack speed could ignore the burden on his body, and he could still unleash a critical strike. That was a 9.9% chance. Therefore, within a second, Lu Chen's attack could reach 786,060. The attack of nearly 800,000 combat power was exerted under the effect of the magic blade. All his attacks were converted into magic attacks, a total of 49 times more damaging than the demonic flames that Lan Weiwei used just now. Lu Chen launched this combo. Xiao Bai had never been attacked by magic before. In addition to his lack of combat experience, the demonic flame had already thrown him into a panic. In a hurry, Lu Chen took advantage of this situation and attacked. No, this can't be. Miserable sounds came out from Xiao Bai's mouth. At this moment, he did not even have the strength to stand. He could only crouch onto the ground and wither. However, gradually, he did not even have the strength to crouch. If it was not for the faint undulation of his chest, everyone would probably think that he was dead. Lu Chen carefully walked forward step by step and saw that the other party's breathing was very weak. It did not seem like he was faking it. However, at this moment, Xiao Bai hugged himself tightly. He was trying to endure the intense pain and tilted his head. He looked at Lu Chen in the distance and laughed bitterly. Haha! The whole of the dragon country actually destroyed our Xiao family by a brat like you. However, do you think you can take me down so easily just like that? He took out a scroll from his hand. Immediately, Lu Chen's eyes widened. That's not good. Lu Chen could tell at a glance that that thing was actually a teleportation scroll. The Xiao family indeed had a deep foundation. They actually managed to conceal such an item. However, there was no time to stop him at this moment. Lan Weiwei. The distant wolf immediately understood what the other party meant. An incomparably complicated mark immediately appeared on her forehead and entered Xiao Bai's body at the speed of light. Soul tracking. Xiao Bai's face turned slightly pale, and his gaze was vicious. Brat, I'll wait for you at the Western Castle. One day, we shall meet again. In the dragon team, He Yu's eyes suddenly turned stern. The one who killed his child back then was at the Western Castle. That meant that the B***-starred Xiao Bai actually colluded with people from there. Finally, Lan Weiwei could not hold it in any longer and directly used her demonic flame skill once again.